Hey everybody, welcome back to the Holiday Show. This is Aaron here, and I'm here with Andy Dukleth. We are at the Panels Comic Book and Coffee Shop here in Oceanside, California. How you doing, Andy?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Good. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
I saw you drawing off to the side there, and I thought I'd ask you if you wanted to be on an interview because we had met previously before. I think it was Free Comic Book Day.
Yeah, Free Comic Book Day at Villainous Lair in San Diego.
Right. So, how are you doing, and what brings you to panels?
How am I doing? No, I'm kidding. I'm doing good. It's been... so what brings me to panels is my buddy Scott, part of the Accidental Aliens crew. He was, I saw he was doing the show. I grew up here in Oceanside, so I figured, support my friends, meet more creators, go down memory lane. So, and plus be productive. It's been a weird month, but finally kind of getting back into it,
Cool. So you mentioned Scott earlier, and you mentioned Accidental Aliens. Can you describe, I guess, what you contributed to Accidental Aliens?
Yeah, so I contributed the short story Fed Up, sort of in the middle of the book if you have that. And yeah, we just got together, contributed 6 pages each. There wasn't any genre, and the whole point was just to support local artists. I met Scott and some of the other crew at San Diego Comic Fest back in 2016. So we just kind of started hanging out, and Villainous Lair kind of became our hub. And then Free Comic Book Day 2016, Scott said, dude, we should totally do this, guys, and everyone was on board. So we had a year to complete 6 pages, and you could do whatever you want. If you wanted to write, draw it all, that's what I did. Cool. Other people, they kind of collaborated. So like Travis and Emily, so Travis wrote his story and Emily illustrated. So you can do a wide variety of things. And
how long did you guys plan on? How long did it take to plan out Accidental Aliens?
It didn't start out as a plan, I guess. It was just sort of like us spitballing ideas, and then we kind of came back to a few ideas, and we just kind of started condensing it more, just the more we hung out and talked. And then when Scott said, oh, we should do an anthology story to release for Free Comic Book Day, that's sort of when we sort of kind of made it more official. And so then, and we got into it, we designed a logo, and it's funny enough, at first we wanted to call ourselves Light Switch Studios, because we were afraid Accidental Aliens was already taken. Mm-hmm. And technically it is by some really cheesy romance novel, but we figured it's not quite in the same genre industry, I guess. So, and I think it's a lot more fun. I've got my alien earrings, so yeah. So yeah, that's kind of how it kind of started. Just a spitballing, really. So
speaking of how things got started, how did you get your start into comic books?
How did I get my start? I'll let you know when it happens, but I really got into manga and anime when I was 10. I saw my cousin drew this really awesome picture of this ninja girl, and I just I want to do that. And I had been into arts and crafts, but not to that level. And so pretty much then on, I was, I participated in anime club in high school and various art classes. And then, college and your first job kind of happened. So I took a little brief hiatus when I was in my late teens. And then now, but I decided to get more serious into it 2 years ago. And so now we got our Kickstarter and we published the anthology. So that's my first published book.
Okay.
Even though I only...
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. So even though I have it's only 6 pages out of the various stories, it feels good just to know that okay, I set myself for a goal, even if it's small, but I did it, and you can too.
Exactly. I mean, there's I came across a sort of quote the other day, and it went something like, when you close the door to perfection, you open the door to progress. So you shouldn't have to wait for that perfect moment, because that may cripple you and from actually starting something. So it's good that you got that first experience, with the anthology out there, and now you can, try to do something else.
Yeah, definitely. So right now I'm working on the pages you saw me working on is for next year's anthology, and I work for a local news station, and that's where I got the idea for my next story. How would local news cover the fall of society as we know it? And so it takes place in like this barren wasteland, and you just kind of see this news crew like surviving. So I'm having a lot of fun with that idea. It's something I'd like to kind of maybe turn into a series. Whereas like the last story was just kind of like a quick self-contained short story.
So you're gonna write and draw again?
Yeah. I might. So for this one, I'm writing and drawing everything. If I do decide to continue it, I might get a writer. I like drawing, but I do want to kind of hone my writing skills as well. So we'll see. I'm still kind of feeling things out.
You had mentioned that I guess anime and manga was a big influence on you.
Yeah.
What's if you were to recommend 3 anime, what would it be?
I mean, these are like the more mainstream ones, like Naruto, Sailor Moon, Dragon Ball Z, but there've been some like more obscure to mainstream to American audiences, I should say. So I really love the book Uzumaki by Junji Ito, and it's a very strange concept. It's about a village that's cursed by spiral-themed just disasters or tragedies. And it's very hard to explain because it's very, very surreal. But if you love horror and you love anything that's bizarre and weird, I recommend Junji Ito. And he was heavily influenced my art style. I can't talk, sorry. My art style in my last short story. So that one's more manga-esque. This next one, I kind of want to be more like Image Comics, kind of emulating Saga a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of Saga, I mean, what other comic books are you reading?
I'm reading Paper Girls, Unstoppable Cherub by my friend Travis. Give a shout out. What else? Well, this one isn't a comic per se. I'm reading Nosferatu by Joe Hill, who was the writer of Lock and Key. Mm-hmm. So yeah, Lock and Key, Saga, Paper Girls. Those are my main ones.
That's an interesting mix.
Yeah. I just kind of like, oh, this seems cool. And
So where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Hopefully with more books. I don't know. That's like the one thing that I know I want to accomplish in 5 years. Just like I want to have just more content that's published. I have been working on and off on this like fantasy idea of like, at its core, it's like it's a band of heroes fighting an evil, but just kind of in light of everything that's been going on in the world, I kind of want to focus more on like how can four people work together to solve a greater evil and work through their disagreements and different political and ethnic backgrounds and all that kind of stuff. So that's sort of an idea that I kind of want to launch in the next 2 years. It's still in the outlining stages, but hopefully in 5 years I'll have some issues out by then.
Cool. We look forward to that.
Thank you. Yeah.
I guess for people out there who are sort of in the same boat as you are and trying to sort of launch their career, what are some pieces of advice that you can sort of give to them?
So the biggest piece of advice I could give is just don't worry yourself sick. And it's good to have drive. It's good to have passion. But one of the mistakes that I made was I essentially just like paralyzed myself with worry. Like it's kind of like what you said earlier, that perfect moment that you're waiting for, that's never going to come. If you're waiting for that perfect moment, then you're just going to be just constantly disappointed. And so what's funny is like when I initially went to Comic Fest a little over a year ago, that was just sort of more on a whim. Like it was like on Valentine's Day, and like I had a date fall through, and was like, okay, fine, I'll go to Comic Fest. And so, but I met these guys, and we've been hanging out ever since. So I mean, I never would have guessed that this was how I would kind of sort of almost get my foot in the door, at least in the independent scene I have. But I'm here talking to you, and we'll see how much farther I go.
So besides the next part of the Accidental Aliens anthology for 2018, what other projects are you working on?
So my main project has been my work. I work for a local news station. So whenever I get a chance, I try to like pitch like local comic book stories to the news station I work for, ABC 10, San Diego. So it's just like the way things have worked out. Like my main focus has been on that. The only main project I have is the anthology and my fantasy comic. But we'll see. Like one good thing about my job, I'm a camera woman basically, is that I see a lot of things, good and bad, and it's just kind of helped me hone a perspective on life, as cheesy as that sounds. But it's given me a lot of ideas, and so I might do like a story about how my first year working in news kind of changed my perspective on things, especially, in San Diego where I grew up.
So is journalism something that you had wanted to get into ever since you were younger? Not
necessarily. I can't talk again. Sorry. I've always wanted to be an artist, but when I was in college, like I got paranoid. Like I was never going to get a job unless I got a more practical degree. So I majored in video production, and then through just doing a bunch of freelance jobs, I kind of found my way into news. So my first job was as a video editor at KUSI News, and then I've kind of worked my way up from there. And what's funny to me is that working in news and being a video editor has actually made me a better comic artist and writer, because now I'm thinking more consciously about, switching up the camera angle, condensing stories. And that's a big one too, because, you don't want no one's going to read like a million pages if they can see the same story in 6. So, so that's how journalism has helped me in a way. But we'll see.
It's funny you mention that, because one of our previous guests, his name is Stefan Frank. He's the creator and writer of this comic book called Silver. It's pretty much, if you can imagine, con artists trying to steal the treasure of vampires set in a noir setting. But basically, he comes from a cinematic background. He worked as a senior animator for Iron Giant and some other. So he takes that cinematic approach and he's trying to apply it to his comic books. So it's funny that you mentioned that your experience as a photo or a videographer has given you a different perspective on how to sort of arrange your content for your comic books. So
yeah, and that's one thing that in the short 24 years on this earth that I've lived, you will find a lot of lessons in the most unexpected places. So, going back to anyone that's looking to get in, just, you don't need to be specifically how you feel things should be. There is no should, things are or they're not. So whatever situation you find yourself in, just kind of take those lessons and then maybe channel it towards your craft or whatever you want to do. So that's just one thing that I've learned just based on my cross training, if that makes sense, or whatever you want to call it, from just photojournalism and drawing comics.
Well, I look forward to seeing what you put into the next Accidental Aliens anthology. Where can people find you online?
So I have my Instagram, Andy the Duke. That's my Twitter handle as well. And I also just started a Tumblr page that's in the bio of my Instagram. So it's Andy with an I. And it's a play on my name. People ask me, why I call myself that. But yeah, my full name Andy Dukleth. So Andy the Duke, obviously. So, and yeah, so you can check me out there.
Cool. Well, thank you for your time, and I look forward to reconnecting with you in the future.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for having me.
All right, take care. Cheers.